Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I am, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies, movie news, TV, and streaming, and all sorts of good things. And guys, I hope you had a fantastic weekend filled with relaxation and fun, doing the things you love to do, and preparing you for another week of triumphant victory that lays ahead. And I had a great weekend. I spent a lot of it with Ann. I pretty much spent all of it with Ann because Ann had to take a trip up to Cupertino. For those of you guys know, Ann works with Apple, and they needed her up at the Apple spaceship headquarters this week, so off she went up to Cupertino. So she's going to be gone for a number of days now, and which means I'm bacheloring it around here. I don't do well when I have to bachelor it, guys. I mean, the first, 12 hours, like, woohoo, I got the house to myself. I can do whatever I want. This is amazing. I don't have to close the cupboards. I can leave the toilet seat up. I can do whatever I want, and it's great for like 12 hours. But then I don't do too well without Ann around. And I start to get a little bit grumpy after a while when Ann's not around for a few days anyway. Hey guys, listen, you might notice I'm doing today's show solo. I'm not going to do a solo week this week like I did last week. We will have Aaron on this week. You're going to see Kim at some point this week. But Rob got a hold of me and let me know he is working on a new animation project that is secret. I can't talk about, but he's working on a new project right now that's going to keep him busy during the mornings for this week. So we're not going to have Rob on this week, but don't worry, he'll be back, and we wish him all the best with this new project he's working on. Anyway, guys, here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to split the show up into two parts. In the first half of the show, we're going to take some predetermined topics. Then on the second half of the show, we're going to take your live comments and questions. And the way you send in a live comment or question we read on the show is by simply using the tip link that's down in the description of this video. Just click on that there or enter it in manually at www.streamelements.com/movieblogtv/tip. You'll be getting your comment or question on the show if it's, of course, appropriate for our show. And, of course, you'll be supporting our channel at the same time. And all of us involved here with the John Campea Show, thank you guys so very much for your support. One other little bit of housekeeping here, guys. Want to remind you guys that if you can't get your daily fix of the John Campea Show in front of a YouTube channel, maybe you're commuting or you're at work or you're jogging or whatever, good news, there is an audio-only version that we call the John Campea Show podcast. It is the audio-only form of this show. Just go onto your favorite podcasting app of choice and subscribe to it today so it will be there when you need it. And thank you to everybody who has already subscribed to the podcast feed. Okay, guys, listen, we got a lot of stuff to cover here today, and we're going to get things started off here with a little off the top, and it's an exciting one, and that's this. You guys know one of the movies that I'm really interested in is the upcoming Sony film Morbius, starring Jared Leto. Now, I think Jared Leto is a tremendous actor. He's an Academy Award winner. I think he's fantastic in just about everything he's in. I even like his Joker. Screw y'all. I even like his Joker. I mean, I thought it was underused and they should have done more with him, but I like his iteration of the Joker. Anyway, one of the things I was really excited to see at the end of the new cut of Justice League, but he's got this Morbius film coming out. It's been delayed several times, as almost everything in our industry has been up until this point because of the pandemic and all that kind of stuff. But before all that, we did get a really nice trailer for Morbius that I actually thought was really good. Like, I thought it was a really, not the best comic book superhero, thing we've ever seen, but I thought it looked really good. And then, of course, more delays and more delays and more delays. So we've got a release date coming up, and a lot of people are starting to be wondering, when is a new trailer for Morbius coming? Because now we are getting close to when this thing is finally going to be hitting screens, right? Well, it's coming really soon. It's coming tomorrow. News has come out. Sony has officially announced that they are, in fact, going to be dropping a brand new trailer for Morbius tomorrow. So we're going to be talking about that. But to announce this new trailer, they put out this minute and a half long special featurette, they're calling it, of Morbius, where they show us some footage. By the way, the visual effects look fantastic. The way they visually manifest what his powers are looks absolutely phenomenal. So I love the way that it looks. But what is probably even more interesting than all of that is that near the end of it, you see Jared Leto sitting in his, director's chair. He's talking about why he's excited to bring Morbius to the big screen, how unique he is as a character, and all that kind of stuff. But near the end of this little, featurette that's up and online right now, he says something that was clearly very much by design. He says something, I'm paraphrasing here, but he says something along the lines of, it opens up a big web of possibilities. Once again, he says it opens up a big web of possibilities, or something along those lines. So not only are we getting this brand new trailer tomorrow, we have him talking about it opens up a web of possibilities. Now, obviously, the first thing your mind goes to is that this is all inferring that Spider-Man is coming back over to the Sonyverse. I've been speculating for a long time that Spider-Man No Way Home is going to be a big setup for the exit of Spider-Man out of the MCU and over into the Spider-Verse. Now, I've lately started to believe, because going back and looking at old Kevin Feige's statements, we talked about this on the show last week, going back and revisiting some Kevin Feige statements about 2 years ago, after Sony and Marvel re-upped their deal for a couple of more films, Kevin Feige reminded us, he said, one of the big things about Spider-Man is that he's one of the only characters that has the power to jump between universes. And now when you look at that statement in light of today, what we talked about last week was, I still believe Spider-Man is now exiting out of the MCU, but I believe we will once in a while see Spider-Man pop up in the MCU, even though that is no longer home for him. You know what I mean? And then maybe as a part of Sony letting them do that, maybe the odd MCU character may, temporarily pop up now and again in a Sonyverse film. Be that as it may. Seeing Jared Leto say something like, this opens up a web. I mean, the only thing he didn't do was wink at the screen. I mean, he might as well have gone a whole web of possibilities, but he didn't do that. So there's that. But obviously this is hinting at some crossover. But I'll tell you what, it makes me wonder, and only wonder, with this trailer that comes tomorrow, I mean, obviously the first Morbius trailer, we saw Michael Keaton and a Spider-Man graffiti on the wall. Are we going to get something even a little bit more substantial than that? I mean, listen, I'm not saying we are. I'm only asking the question. Are we going to see Tom Holland in this Morbius trailer tomorrow? I don't think so, and I'm not suggesting that it is. Please, I don't want anybody running around, well, Campea said Tom Holland is going to be in the Morbius trailer. I'm not saying that. I am simply asking the question. Could it be that we get, while we had these cool things hinted in the last trailer, could we get something a little more substantial? Could maybe not see Tom Holland, but do we actually see a Spider-Man? I mean, again, I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen with that? As a matter of fact, let me ask you guys right now. I'm going to put up a poll in the live chat for those of you watching now. Are we going to see Spider-Man in the Morbius trailer tomorrow? I'm going to ask that. Simple question. For those of you watching live, I've popped up the poll now in the live chat. You can see it there. Are we going to see Spider-Man in the Morbius trailer tomorrow? I'm not saying we are. I'm just curious, with everything that we got in the last trailer, and now with Jared Leto saying there is a web of possibilities, do you think that's a possibility? Now, we've already got a little over 200 of you have already voted, and overwhelmingly, you guys are saying no. Like 83% of you are saying no. I probably lean towards now over 300 votes. It's 81% are saying no, 19 is saying yes. So interesting stuff. Either way, if you have not seen this featurette, just search Morbius featurette that's popped up this morning. Go and take a look at it. I think it looks very good. It's just made me more excited for the actual Morbius trailer that's coming tomorrow. So yeah, question is for you guys. Have you had a chance to check out this Morbius featurette? If so, what do you think about it? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Are you kind of in the middle? I personally think it's great. Whatever you guys are thinking, jump down into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's now move into our main topics here today. And how do we select our main topics here on the John Campea Show? Well, it's really simple. You see, you guys come up with our main topics. Whenever you come across a big story, issue, or topic that you guys feel we need to cover as a main topic here on the show, just go anytime 24/7 over to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once you get there, you're going to see a form. Fill it out with your topic or question. It's absolutely free. Hit submit, and then maybe, just maybe, you might see your submission featured here on the John Campea Show. And by the way, shutting down thing, we got close to 700 votes now, and the final results are 78% of you guys are saying no, we will not see Spider-Man in this trailer tomorrow. 22% of you are saying yes. So we'll find out tomorrow. It'll be interesting to talk about for sure. Okay, with all that down, let's get into main topic number 1, shall we? And our first main topic today gets submitted to us by Tony. And Tony writes, "Hello, John and crew. I've noticed something interesting on my last trip to Walmart. I've been stumbling upon physical releases of streaming exclusive shows. Granted, they have all been animated, but so far I've seen official DVDs of Harley Quinn, Voltron, and even Castlevania. In an era where physical media seems to be on its way out, are these just special cases? What do you think?" All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And yeah, listen, the topic of physical media has been a big one around here, not only for the last number of months, but even for the last year or two, about what is the future of physical media, or maybe even more specifically and more accurately, is there a future for physical media? Is there even a future for it at all? You know, Robert Meyer Burnett and I have been talking about this, and even Robert, who is a huge physical media guy, massive physical media guy, you know, he says it's inevitable. It is dying. It's going away. More and more of the manufacturers are no longer manufacturing physical media players. We see that the consumption of physical media and sales of physical media has dropped exponentially year over year over year. It's not a question about should physical media go away. The question is it going away, whether it should or not? And the answer to that is an obvious and objectively measurable fact that yes, it's disappearing. Physical media is disappearing. Now, that brings up an interesting question. What about content, movies and TV shows that are specifically made for streaming services? Can we see those pop up in physical media? Well, as they pointed out in the email, we are seeing it pop up in physical media. Right now, you can go to Amazon and you can order one of the greatest shows on television right now, Harley Quinn. God, I cannot wait for season 3. You know, I thought, side note, for those of you who might be new around here, I thought Harley Quinn looked stupid. Like, I thought it looked really dumb. I hate most of Marvel and DC's animated crap. And I saw the trailers for Harley Quinn, did not think it looked funny, whatever. And I had a whole bunch of our viewers write into me say, you got to watch Harley Quinn. I think you're going to really like it. I finally gave in, and I am in love with this show. I'm absolutely in love with this show. It's one of the greatest things on TV. Anyway, can't wait for the 3rd season to come. But it was designed to be for that DC streaming service that no longer exists. That was a short-lived experiment, wasn't it? But it was designed for that. And now for season 3 moving onward, it has moved over. It's going to be on HBO Max, as well as a Cartoon Network. It's going to be somewhere else as well, but it's also going to be on HBO Max. But it is, right now, you can go to Amazon and you can purchase it for $26.99 on Blu-ray. And if you're a physical media collector, which I am not, but if you are a physical media collector, I think this is one you should have in your library. I really should. So it kind of re-sparks the question. What is the future of physical media, specifically as it pertains to these streaming shows? Now, a little while ago, earlier this year, a historian, if you will, of animation and all that kind of stuff was saying that, guess what? They're all moving away from physical media. This comes us from the folks at MovieWeb, who writes, as of now, there are no plans to commemorate Daffy or Tweety's anniversaries next year or ever. The company's slowly transitioning away from physical media. There are no plans for any classic cartoons on DVD or Blu-ray that I know of, except for one project we are in the middle of, which may come out later this year or not. Anything is possible. We'll just have to wait and see. It includes both Warner Archive and regular Warner Home Video. You'll still see some new releases from both during the rest of 2021, but those were planned out last year. Next year, 2022, is when this year's changes will start to be felt. Yes, The Texiversary sets sold well, enough for the low overhead archive collection division. But in the big picture, it's peanuts. And the focus over there is now streaming, aka HBO Max. So now that comment was made a little bit earlier in this year, but it did point towards the fact that, yeah, they are starting to phase out using their physical media, even for their animation. We still see some today. We are probably still going to see some moving forward. But even in animation, the insiders right now are saying, yeah, they're going to move away from it. Now, in many ways, this makes sense. And this is what we've been talking about this whole time, especially for the streaming services. Think about it. If you're a streaming service, let's say you created your own streaming service tomorrow and it's called, I don't know, Soggy Ass. Soggy Ass, the streaming service. Congratulations, you are a member of Soggy Ass and Soggy Ass Plus. And if you really want to spend the extra $4, you can get Soggy Ass Max. Don't you want to be Max? Anyway, so let's say, I'm completely making this up off the top of my head. Okay, so you have a streaming service now called Soggy Ass. Okay, and let's call it Soggy Ass Plus. And you invest $100 million. Let's be more reasonable. Let's say you invest $30 million in acquiring the rights to and making a series of, I don't know. Do any of you guys remember Barbapapa? Oh my God, if any of you guys remember Barbapapa, I will be really impressed. I don't know if it was only a Canadian thing, but in the live chat, just let me know if you guys know what Barbapapa is, because this is like going back to when I was a child. But anyway, oh, I see Abdullah is saying, I remember Barbapapa, damn right. Lickety Split, Barba Trick. For those of you who remember, this was a cartoon when I was like an obscure little cartoon when I was a kid. But for whatever reason, let's say you are Soggy Ass Plus and you invest $30 million in acquiring the rights for and producing and making this Barbapapa live action CGI cross show for Barbapapa. Okay, here's the thing. Why are you making that show? You're making that show specifically for the purpose of getting other people to become Soggy Ass Plus members. You call your fan base the Soggy Asses. You're trying to get more people to become Soggy Asses. You want them to sign up for Soggy Ass Plus. And so you invest that money to make this, to buy the rights to Barbapapa, and you're going to make the CGI live action. For those of you, now everybody go and Google Barbapapa. You'll see what I'm talking about. Anyway, you invest that money because you want to get people to sign up to your streaming service. Now, yeah, in the short term, you can put this series out on DVD if you want to make some quick sales. But ultimately, you don't want to give people another option for watching Barbapapa. You want them to come to Soggy Ass Plus to become Soggy Asses and watch Barbapapa. That's the whole idea. Because the key to victory or survival even, it's not even about victory, it's about survival in the streaming wars, is exclusive content. What is going to separate your streaming service? What's going to separate Soggy Ass from Peacock? What's going to separate Soggy Ass from Disney Plus? It's your exclusive content. And that's what it's all about. And so while I'm not totally surprised that right now you can still go out and get Harley Quinn, I would also be very surprised if come 2024 and 2025 that's going to be an option anymore. I don't know that you're going to be able to get Harley Quinn season 5 if we get to season 5, fingers crossed. I don't know that you're going to be able to get that on physical media. Because why would you? Why would HBO put that out on physical media and give you another option to get it if HBO Max is now available worldwide and you want everybody to become an HBO Max subscriber? Something they haven't been able to get people to do lately. So that's the thing. So yeah, not surprised that it's out there, but I don't think it's going to be something that lasts very long. So I don't know. Question is for you guys. What do you think about this whole question right now, particularly with something like Harley Quinn being available out now? Do you think we're always going to be, do you think they're going to keep putting out streaming shows on physical media? Or do you think that that time is now going to be short-lived? Whatever you guys think, jump on down into the comments section below, subscribe to Soggy Ass, and leave your comments there. All right, guys, with that down, let's move on to main topic number 2. And our second main topic today gets submitted to us by Cool Kid 206, who writes, so, I read an article that actor slash rapper Ice Cube left a project because it was required that everyone needed to be vaccinated. I wanted to know how you guys feel about a big actor leaving a project because it was required to get vaccinated. All right. Thanks a lot for sending in that question, man. And listen, first off, I should say, I don't care about the little behind the scenes squabble stuff like this. I don't. The only time it gets on my radar and that I actually start to care about it is when it has a direct impact on the movies we are or are not going to see. In this case, we have a movie called Oh Hell No. Terrible title, but whatever. A movie it's clearly a comedy called Oh Hell No that was going to be starring Ice Cube and Jack Black. And Jack Black is actually one of the main producers behind this film. Now, according to the story that is out there right now, there is a story that Ice Cube has left the movie, which is true, but that the reason he left the movie was because the producers of the movie are requiring that all cast and crew, at least level A cast and crew, be vaccinated. And according to a story in the Hollywood Reporter, they're saying that Ice Cube has left because he didn't want to get vaccinated. Now, something very important should be pointed out here. Neither the studio or the producers or Ice Cube have confirmed this. It's just, and now he has left the project, but that saying that he left because of COVID vaccination, that has not been confirmed by either the studio or the producers or Ice Cube himself. As of this moment, that's not been confirmed, but that is what the Hollywood Reporter is saying their sources are telling them. It makes it very interesting because Ice Cube himself has been a very vocal, he's even done campaigns, like a very vocal supporter of, mask wearing and all this kind of stuff. He's been very, very active about that, promoting it and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of surprising and it's kind of weird that somebody who's been so actively being a proponent of mask wearing and public responsibility and all that kind of stuff would then leave a movie with a reported $9 million payday, would leave a movie over vaccination. I mean, that just seems odd. It should also be pointed out, this is the second movie in a while that in the last couple of months that he's left. He was supposed to be in this movie called Flint, Fighting Flint, or Flint Strong. I believe it was supposed to be a boxing movie. But anyway, he just recently left that project with no reason giving why he left that project. I just give that little bit of background information as some context. Okay. Now, I should also mention that I have met and hung out with Ice Cube. One time, Dennis Zen and I had a chance. We went into Hollywood and we literally got to hang out for an entire afternoon with Ice Cube. We were doing some promotion stuff for an upcoming movie he had. And I was there in my official capacity as the head of AMC Movie News. And I got to hang out for the whole afternoon with him. And he's awesome. All right. Now, granted, I only ever had the one day. I met him one other time, but I only really ever had the one day where I truly hung out with him. And all I can tell you is the dude's awesome. He was fun. He was funny. He would play along with everything. Even when I was leading some stuff in the interview, he would instantly, he's super smart on camera. He would instantly pick up where I was trying to lead him and he would totally go there. So again, he was humble. He was super nice. He was super friendly. I got nothing but positive things to say about Ice Cube as an individual from my very, very limited experience of hanging out with the dude. At any rate, so let's talk about this for a second. And by the way, we don't know that let's again, check ourselves. We don't know that the reason he left this project was over a vaccination issue, but that is what the Hollywood Reporter is reporting on. So let's for a second there assume that's the case, just for the sake of the discussion. Let's assume that report is true. And let's talk about what we think about that he was doing this movie with Jack Black and then decided to leave because he didn't want to get vaccinated. Well, I have two thoughts on that. Thought number one is, hey man, that's his right to do that. If he doesn't want to get, now obviously you guys know what I feel is the social responsible thing to do, is that's to get vaccinated. That's my belief. But if Ice Cube, and we don't know that this is true, but we're assuming it just for the sake of the discussion, if Ice Cube doesn't want to get vaccinated, that's his right. If he doesn't want to do that, he doesn't have to do that. And that is his freedom to choose that for himself. So that's my one thought. My second thought on that is this, is that freedom, as we know, goes both ways. Freedom goes both ways. Because if you want to choose, and you have the right, if you want to choose not to get vaccinated, other people have the choice if they want to be around you or not. They have the choice and the freedom to decide if we want to subject ourselves to an unnecessary risk that you pose because you don't want to get vaccinated. And both sides are right. Ice Cube has every right not to get vaccinated if he doesn't want to. And other people have the right to say, hey, we don't want to be in a work environment with that person if they're not going to be vaccinated. And they have that freedom too. It goes both ways. So if a movie production and producers, and as a result of their insurance and all that kind of stuff, say, hey, look, we're making a requirement on our project, that people who fall under this category need to be vaccinated if they're going to be working on set and in close proximity to other people. We feel we need to provide for the safety and whatever of everybody else there, and everybody else there wants to feel safe and secure. We're making a requirement. It's their right to do it. And I think it's a responsible thing to do. But at the same time, Ice Cube has a right to not do it if he wants to. If he wants to walk away from that project on that basis, God bless. Let him. No problem. Now, again, it needs to be repeated a third time. There has been no confirmation from either the producers or Ice Cube that that's why he left. But if he did, that's kind of my take on it. And again, I don't normally care about this bullshit, but it is having a direct impact on a movie we have coming up, obviously that he's going to be doing with Jack Black, or was going to be doing with Jack Black. And so there it is. I think it's unfortunate. I actually think Jack Black and Ice Cube on screen together would be really funny. I think that would be really good chemistry. Ice Cube actually has a really good ability to make himself, he's got a Owen Wilson kind of talent, that he just has the ability, I find, to make himself have good chemistry on screen with whoever he's with. Even with Kevin Hart, I really like Kevin Hart too, but even with Kevin Hart, when they did their movies together, I thought they had tremendous chemistry together, and I just find he has the ability to do that. I think this would have been a terrific comedic pairing. But if it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen. So that's kind of my take on it. I don't think there's anybody right or wrong here. Ice Cube's just doing what he has every right to do. I think the producers are just doing everything they have a right to do. And if that means they can't work together, then they can't work together. So it's no real big deal to me. Anyway, the question is for you guys. What do you think about this? Do you even think this is true? Because again, neither the studio nor Ice Cube himself has said this is actually what's happening here. So maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Do you even think it's true? If it is, do you have a particular thought on it? Whatever it is, jump on down to the comments section below and leave your thoughts there. All right, guys. With that down, before we move into our next topic, I just want to take a second and give a shout out to the sponsor of today's John Campea Show, and that is the app Get Upside. Now, listen, I'm going to tell you guys about this. I have actually been using this app, and I'm going to tell you straight up, it's actually pretty damn great. Here's basically what it is. Get Upside is what's called a cashback app, right? You use it at a gas station or at another business that they work with, and you just get money added into your account. Money that you can then later withdraw directly to your bank, to PayPal, or an e-gift card, so you can get it paid out as, say, an Amazon gift card or something like that. And it works just like that. It gets you up to 25 cents off at the gas station as well. So you go, you take your car. I drive a Toyota CHR, go to the gas station, pull up, load it in. Whatever the price is at the gas station, it's essentially almost 25 cents cheaper, because you're going to get 25 cents back on your Get Upside app just for using the card there. It could not be simpler. So here's what you guys need to do. Simply go on over to Get Upside and download the app. You can find it in the Android or the Apple Play Store. Download the app today, and when you sign up, make sure you use the promo code Campea, because for a limited time, you can actually get an additional 25 cents off when you use this at the gas station. So you can get possibly up to 50 cents per gallon when you're using this the first time you go and use it, if you use the promo code Campea. So guys, there's nothing to it. There's literally no catch. I was going through this thing because I'm kind of suspicious of apps and stuff like that. I'm going through this thing. I'm liking, what's the catch? What's the catch? There's no catch. So go on over today, go to GetSide, download the app for free, and earn up to 50 cents per gallon cash back on your first tank if you use the promo code Campea. Go with it and use that today. And all of us here at the John Campea Show want to thank the folks at GetUpside for sponsoring today's episode. Okay, guys, with that down and out of the way, let's now move on to our third main topic today. And our third main topic today gets submitted to us by Sean Bradley, who writes, "Hey, John, Alec Baldwin spoke out about the recent incident on the set of Rust, saying that he is for the banning of live guns on set, which I totally agree with. However, he has said that he doubts that production will start back up again after the investigation. Do you think that they should cancel the production, which they were halfway through filming, and let the hard work go to waste, or should they finish it for Helena?" All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, Sean. Now, obviously, one of the biggest topics of conversation around the world of entertainment lately has been the tragic accident that happened on the set of the movie Rust that starred Alec Baldwin and Jensen Ackles from Supernatural fame. And of course, what happened was a real gun was being used on set. For some unknown reason that the police are still trying to find out why, there was a live round in the gun. The gun was cleared and proclaimed to be a cold gun that the assistant director then took, announced it was a cold gun, meaning it's fake, there's nothing in it, it's fake, this is a safe gun. Called cold gun, handed it to Alec Baldwin, and then they were rehearsing a scene where Alec Baldwin was supposed to point the gun at the camera, which is in a lot of movies. And of course, Helena, the director of photography, the cinematographer, was standing at the camera. The live round went off. It killed her, injured the director, and it's just been horrible. I mean, there's no way to spin this. It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible what happened. Now, the investigation is still ongoing, and it's interesting that Helena's husband has said he doesn't blame Alec Baldwin or anything like that. I mean, obviously the police need to get to the bottom of what happened. How did something like this happen? And I agree with the person who wrote in the email. They shouldn't even have guns on set. There are these new types of things they can use called airsoft. Is that what they're called? That mimic the motion of the gun. You can add in flash muzzles and everything in post effects. I've been saying this for years. Ever since the death of Brandon Lee, there is simply no reason why these types of weapons and things need to be on set of a live movie. It shouldn't happen. It shouldn't be the case. They shouldn't be there. But you do raise an interesting question, because we were just talking about Brandon Lee, right? I just mentioned, Brandon Lee died 1993, died on the set of The Crow. But here's what's interesting about that. When he died on the set of The Crow, they finished The Crow. Now, whether they should or shouldn't have, that's a question I'll let other people discuss. But they finished the movie. So the question now is, should they finish Rust? Once the investigation is done, once they figure out exactly how happened and what happened and why happened and who happened and whatever, once they do all that and the smoke is cleared, should they go back now and finish this movie, which was halfway done filming? Alec Baldwin says he doubts they'll do that, but should they? Should they do it? And I'm going to say no, they shouldn't finish it, but not for the reason why you might think. I don't think it would be disrespectful to the cinematographer, Helena, who passed away. I don't think it would be disrespectful for the world to keep moving forward and for that job to keep getting made. They did it with The Crow. They finished the production on that, even though Brandon Lee had died on it. I don't think it's disrespectful when, look, every year, at least as far as the stats as of 2019, over 5,300 people in the United States of America died on the job in 2019. 5,300 plus people in 1 year died on the job. Do those companies shut down, or do you keep moving? Do you figure out what happened, make corrections, and keep moving forward? So, John, why do you think then they shouldn't continue on with the production of Rust? I think it's strictly from a business point of view. why spend more money on this movie? Because look, the reality is this. As distasteful as it is, as sour as it is in our mouths, as much as this is not, a real pretty reason, the reality is this. With today's social media, which is different than back in 1993 when the Brandon Lee tragedy happened, no one is ever going to be able, no person in the public is ever going to be able to look at Rust and just see a Western movie. You can correct me if you think I'm wrong, but if they did go ahead, if they spent the money, got everything back together, got the production up and running again, and actually finished this movie out, is there anybody out there who isn't going to just look at this and not think of the tragedy that happened now? It has been the dominant thing in the news cycle, particularly in the movie world, for like well over a week now. What's going to happen with it? No one's going to look at this film and think of anything other than the tragic accident that happened on it. Now, you might be asking, well, what's the difference between this and, The Crow with Brandon Lee? Again, I honestly think that if what happened with The Crow happened today in today's social media environment, I really don't think they would have finished The Crow either. I mean, maybe they would have because The Crow was pretty damn close to finishing shooting, but still, I think if it had happened today, I don't think they would have finished The Crow. I think it would have been different. All I'm saying is, if you're, a financier of this movie, yeah, maybe you already spent like $4 million on it. And this was a very, very low budget film. Like this was an ultra low budget film. This wasn't a film that was going to get a 3,000 theater wide release and things. This was a very, very low budget film. But if I'm a financier of this movie, yeah, maybe just killing the production right now means I take a hit. Like I lose whatever money I spent, and that sucks. But I think they will in the long term lose more money if they try to get this production back up and running again and put it out, because I just don't know, even if it's the greatest movie, even if Rust ends up being better than Unforgiven as the greatest Western of all time, I just don't think people are going to feel good watching it. So my guess is, and this is just my opinion, I am not an expert in this is simply my opinion, but my opinion is I agree with Baldwin on this. I don't think you finish this production. Not because of the tragedy, but because of what the tragedy would mean for the project down the road. So personally, I would say no to it. Question is for you guys. What do you think they should do about Rust at this point? Do you think they need to carry on like a lot of other businesses and companies do? If somebody tragically dies on the job, do you move forward? Or do you think there's just too many downsides here for them to do that? Whatever you guys think, jump on down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Okay, guys. With that down, let's move on to main topic number 4, shall we? And our fourth main topic today gets submitted to us by Christopher Herman, who writes, with Spider-Man No Way Home right around the corner, fans are understandably super excited for the movie. I am too. This excitement has recently turned into outrage towards the fact that we are a month and a half away from the movie and we still haven't gotten the second trailer or even a poster. Now fans have resorted to dislike bombing every YouTube video Sony has posted. In my opinion, people are taking this way too far. Do you think this is acceptable behavior? All right. Thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And yeah, listen, the movie fan community is one of the greatest things in the world. I am a proud member of the movie fan community. I have been since almost the day I was born. Ever since my mom first introduced me to Star Wars when I was a wee little child, I have loved being a part of the film fan community. The film fan community is tremendously awesome. That said, every good thing has a downside. Every good thing has a downside. A city wins a big national championship. Yay, that's great. But there's a downside. There's a little bit of looting. There's a downside, right? So look, the film fan community is awesome. I'm a proud member of it. However, one of the downsides of the film fan community is that we, and I say we, because I'll include myself in this. I include you in it too, if you're watching, no matter whether you think so or not. It includes you, includes all of us. Sometimes, I think it's fair to say that we as a fan community, as great as this fan community is and all the good it does, sometimes we can maybe be accurately portrayed as acting as a bunch of whiny, entitled little wankers. A phrase I picked up from Ted Lasso, by the way. We, as great as the fan community is, can sometimes accurately be portrayed as a bunch of whiny, entitled, and that's going to be a big word we use here today, entitlement and entitled little wankers. Oh, that's us. And as much as I hate it, I think that it's, look, and this is true of all of us as film fans, as much as I hate this, we can look at almost any, if we look back at our own fandom careers, we will see moments where we have all acted like whiny, entitled little wankers. It happens. But it's getting worse with like the use of social media and stuff like that, and that's the word entitled. Fans feel like they are entitled. I am owed. It's a sucky little wussy attitude that all of us can sometimes be susceptible to, and it is totally coming out right now. Now understand, Spider-Man No Way Home is a movie that already has a trailer out. It's not like they haven't put out a trailer, and it's not like that trailer came out all that long ago. They dropped a trailer for a little over a month ago. It's fantastic. Everybody loved it and cheering about it. And okay, we're talking about a second trailer now. We're not talking about the first trailer. It's not like we are 6.5 weeks out from Spider-Man No Way Home and gosh darn it, we still haven't got a second trailer, or we still haven't got our first trailer. No, we have our first trailer. They just haven't put the second one out yet. Look, Marvel is clearly trying to play this one pretty close to the vest, but as a result of that part of our fandom that can be a bunch of whiny, crying, entitled little wankers is coming out, and they feel like, well, we're going to go review bomb and whatever and dislike bomb Sony stuff for this. This comes to us from the folks over at Heroic Hollywood who writes, we are less than 2 months away from the release of Spider-Man No Way Home, and although we've received a trailer back in August, fans are already frothing at the mouth for the second trailer. Anticipation for the film will only skyrocket even further once it releases, and it's reached a point where some fans have grown impatient. So much so that fans have gone to dislike bomb Sony Pictures Entertainment YouTube videos. For example, Sony Pictures Entertainment's official YouTube channel released videos for Don't Breathe 2 and Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City. These videos received an overwhelming amount of dislikes compared to likes, with many fans in the comments section demanding the release of a new Spider-Man No Way Home trailer. And again, this comes to us from the folks over at Heroic Hollywood. To me, this is not only sad, and a sad commentary on film fandom and just how pathetic we can sometimes be in film fandom. Because let's not mince words. This is our fandom. And we can sometimes act in a really pathetic, sad kind of way. And this is one of those pathetic, sad kind of ways. And it just reeks of entitlement and all that kind of stuff. But here's the hilarious thing. This is the hilarious part. They are crying. I'm going to say we. Because this is the fandom. We're all the fandom, right? We are crying and whining and acting like a bunch of entitled little wankers for a commercial. For a commercial. We're not asking for the movie. They know when the movie's coming out. We're not even asking for the first commercial. We already got the first commercial. We got a trailer. It's out there. We are whining and complaining and dislike bombing and acting like a bunch of little fucking pathetic wankers because we want a commercial. I don't know if it gets much sadder than that. I mean, that's pretty pathetic. Give us that commercial. What the fuck? What? A commercial. I feel like Allen Iverson. Practice? Like a commercial? We're talking about a commercial? And that's what this is all about? Oh my God, this reeks of entitlement. And it's sad and it's pathetic. It's not a good look on us as a fandom. And listen, before we all start pointing fingers at individuals, I think we have all been guilty of this. Maybe not with the Spider-Man situation particularly, but I think we have all acted like entitled little wankers from time to time when it comes to our own fandom. And I think it's something we need to be more aware of because it's not a good look. This isn't a good look on the fandom. This doesn't make us look good. This makes the whole group of us look like whiny, entitled little wankers. It makes all of it. It's not a good look. And I think we need to try to be a little bit more self-aware with how we, as a fan community, act towards this stuff because, again, it's not a good look. Doesn't make us look too good. Now, look, I'm excited to see Spider-Man No Way Home. Obviously I am. I love this franchise. I think John Watts, the director, has been doing a tremendous job with this franchise. I think this movie's going to be great. By the way, first time I'm going to say this. This is no insider information, all right? This is the first time I'm going to say this. I'm wondering if Patrick Stewart shows up in this movie as Professor X, and I'm not joking. I'm not joking. There's a reason I think that, and not because anybody at Sony or Marvel has told me that that's what's happening. Not at all. Just be very clear. Just be very, very clear. But there is a specific reason why I think that this is going to get so bananas that we could maybe actually see Patrick Stewart as Professor Charles Xavier in this. And it goes back a while. Why I think that actually goes back a while, but we'll talk about that in another episode. Again, don't go running around saying John Campea has reported that Patrick... No. Nobody's told me this. I'm just... As a fan, as a fellow fan, we're doing our speculation. Remember, speculation is fun. Just don't let speculation become expectation. But I'm speculating that, and we'll talk in another episode about why I'm feeling that. But at any rate, I am very excited for this movie, but I'm also very embarrassed. Because as great as our fan community is, as great as our families are, sometimes, there's something about our family that we're embarrassed about. As great as our fan community is, sometimes we do things that we should be embarrassed about. And I think this is an embarrassment. I think this is an embarrassment on the entire film fan community. And this is not how we should be conducting ourselves. And I'm not pointing fingers because I think we've all done this. I think we've all acted like this, whether we realize it or not. So anyway, question is for you guys. What do you think about this whole thing? Jump on down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Okay, guys. With that down, let's move on to main topic number 5. And our 5th and final main topic today gets submitted to us by Jason Graham, who writes, "Hey, John, it's here. Disney just released the first trailer for the Book of Boba Fett, and it's a lot different than I thought it would be, but it's awesome. It's got that underground crime story feel that made me feel like I was watching a trailer for a Scorsese mobster movie more than a Star Wars movie. Have you seen it? What do you think?" All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, Jason. And yes, this morning, it was kind of last minute. I didn't even see it in my newsfeed. I just checked the inbox, one last time before coming in to set the studio up for the show today. And this message came in saying, wait a minute, what? They've dropped the Boba Fett thing? Boba Fett's coming soon. So I went and checked it out, and sure enough, lo and behold, the Book of Boba Fett first trailer has dropped. Now, I've been curious as to, while I've been very, very excited about it, I've been curious about what is this going to feel like? What is this Book of Boba Fett story what's the DNA of it going to be? What kind of texture is this going to have? What's the mood going to be of this thing? And as you started watching the trailer, I instantly got a Mandalorian feel. Like it does feel aesthetically a lot like Mandalorian, but that shouldn't be surprising. This is technically kind of a spin-off of Mandalorian, plus a lot of it, if not all of it, is going to take place on Tatooine, which we saw in The Mandalorian as well. So I'm not surprised, nor was I put off by the idea that this is going to have a lot of the Mandalorian sort of aesthetic. It makes sense. It should. What I wasn't really prepared for, and maybe I should have been, was just how much this feels. I like the way you put in the email, like a Scorsese mobster film. This feels like a Godfather film. And this makes total sense because for you guys who know the history of unmade Boba Fett projects over the years, you guys know that for a long time, years, Lucasfilm was trying to get this kind of Star Wars underworld movie going. They wanted a Star Wars movie or show, some kind of project that really focused on the underworld, the criminal underworld of Star Wars, right? They tried that for a long time. Then a few years ago, Josh Trank, director of Chronicle, fantastic movie Chronicle, director of Chronicle, Josh Trank, was going to do a Boba Fett movie for Lucasfilm, and then that got scrapped. So now it kind of feels, when I watch this Boba Fett trailer, it feels like this is an amalgamation of maybe what Josh Trank was going to do as a Boba Fett standalone, and kind of getting elements of whatever that underworld project was going to be and kind of push it together into one. I will tell you this, I loved it. I loved it. Now, I understand that there's probably a lot of people who were tuning in to watch the Book of Boba Fett teaser and trailer and just wanted to see wall-to-wall action. They just want, because remember that one episode of Mandalorian season 2 where it's like, oh, Boba Fett is John Wick in the Star Wars universe. He is just effing fools up left, right, and center. It was glorious. It was fantastic. Love that episode. It's great. But I think there were probably a lot of fans that were looking forward to this Book of Boba Fett trailer, and we're kind of hoping to see a lot of that. And there's definitely action in the trailer. There is. But to me, this trailer took a far more fascinating turn. It looked at him as a crime lord. Please speak freely. Listen, I don't know if the words speak freely have ever sounded more terrifying to me than Boba Fett sitting at the head of the table saying, speak freely. You know you can't speak freely. But there's this line in the trailer as well where he says, Jabba ruled through fear. I will rule through respect. I loved that. Like this, and seeing Ming-Na Wen in there with him, which of course we knew she was going to be in the series as well. This just looks fantastic, because I'll tell you what, I have obviously had high expectations. I've had high expectations for this show because I love the character and I love what they did with him in Mandalorian season 2. All right. I love it. I do. And so I've had high expectations and certain expectations, but this was something, the feel of this is far better than I was expecting. I had high expectations and I expected it to be a certain way. It was not the way I was thinking it was going to be, and it far exceeded my expectations. This doesn't just look like a fun series. This looks like it could be a pretty damn cool series. And I love the approach they're taking with it. I think it felt awesome. It's just the first trailer. It's coming soon. The armor looks great. He looks fantastic. Tamura Morrison looks wonderful in this. Ming-Na Wen always looks awesome. Come on, she's Ming-Na Wen. But everything about the aliens, these old Godfather vibes, just when they're sitting at the table and they've got these other mob bosses there and he's talking to them, everything felt great. And I go back, what was the name of the person who wrote it in? Jason Graham. When Jason Graham wrote in, this felt, if you didn't know this was Star Wars, it felt like a Scorsese mobster movie. And I totally agree, and I'm totally there for it. I loved this. I cannot wait to see the Book of Boba Fett. Question is for you guys. Have you had a chance to see the Book of Boba Fett trailer? If so, what did you think? Did you love it as much as I did? Maybe it didn't really work for you. Maybe you were looking for more of the action stuff with that. Maybe you just didn't feel like it felt like it was going to be all that grand. Maybe it just didn't work for you for whatever reason. Whatever you guys are thinking, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Okay, guys, with all that down, let's now move on and start taking your live comments and questions, shall we? Once again, if you want to send in a live comment or question to be read on the show or an upcoming companion video, simply go down into the description of this video and click on the tip link or enter it in manually at www.streamelements.com/movieblogtv/tip. You'll be getting your comment or question read on one of our shows. If, of course, it's appropriate for us to use on one of our shows, we may deem it not appropriate, and you're just going to have to live with that if we don't think it's appropriate for the show. But more importantly, you're supporting our channel at the same time, and all of us involved with the John Campea Show, thank you guys so very much for your support. Okay, with that down, let's get over to it and start taking your questions, shall we? And we're going to start things off here with Q-Tip, who writes, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1990 is still the greatest Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie to date. I don't agree. And I know this is unpopular, My favorite one was not the most recent one that had Stephen Amell in it, but the one just before that, the first one done by Platinum Dune Studios. I really surprisingly like that movie a lot. I personally think that's the greatest Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, but that's just me. Anyway, what do you think of an R-rated version that's true to the comics, possibly directed by somebody with the same caliber as a Christopher Nolan or Zack Snyder? Your thoughts? Who cares about who directs it as long as they get a very, very good, as long as they get a good director on it, that's all that matters. Doesn't matter who. Listen, one of the things I've said for a long time is that when Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles came out and started to become popular, they were not the skateboard riding, pizza eating, cowabunga dudes, atrocities that they are today. People don't like it when I say that. Tough. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, when the comics first came out, it was very dark. And even though it was in this ridiculous idea, little turtles that have become mutated into these giant ninjas, and they have a rat for a master, and they have the foot that they need to battle, and they have this villain called Shredder, which is one of the worst villain names ever, but whatever. Even though it was within this ridiculous concept, it was very dark. And when you read it, I mean, they were deadly serious. When they would go into combat, you would read the dialogue in it. You know, my sword drips with the blood of my enemy. We blah, blah, blah. Like, it's dead serious. And it became popular and people loved it. And at some point along the line, they changed the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, say, you know what? This could be really big as a kid's property. And they were right. I mean, I don't like it, but it doesn't stop the fact that they were right. And it became a majorly popular kids thing, very colorful, cowabunga dude, rider skateboards, eat pizza, blah, blah, blah. And it became super popular. But would I be down for a return to the roots and what Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were originally created of? I would love to see that. I think it would be a very, very cool thing to see, but that's just me. All right, next up, we've got Avenge Me Keeley, one of the great lines from season 2 of Ted Lasso. I've seen a lot of people say that Hurd is the reason Depp's career stalled, but I think his career was already on the downhill. It was. His movies kept bombing. Remember Mordecai? Christian Harloff does. And there were so many stories about him intoxicated and on set. Yeah, no, look, obviously the big thing that comes up whenever you mention Amber Heard or Johnny Depp right now is not their movies, not their careers, not Aquaman 2, not whatever. It's the mess with their divorce. Obviously, that's the big topic of conversation. But I remember doing stories on Movie Talk back in the day about like these big articles being written by the major trades about, you know, how studios are starting to shy away from working with Johnny Depp. He doesn't know how to promote the movies. He's often intoxicated on set. A lot of these problems, some of his behaviors and blah, blah. And the reality is, yeah, he was not a big box office draw anymore. Now, I am personally a Johnny Depp fan. I think the guy's a really great actor, especially when he's not playing kind of the ridiculous characters that have paid most of his bills. But, you know, aside from Pirates of the Caribbean, he couldn't draw an audience anymore. I mean, not really. And Mordecai wasn't the only example of that. So, yes, I think Johnny Depp's career was on a bit of a decline before the divorce stuff happened. I think that's fair to say. But I don't think that means he was done. Like, just because his career was on a downslope, because you remember Matthew McConaughey's career was on a downslope for a long time, and then the reconnaissance happened. Is it true that Johnny Depp's career was on a downslide? Absolutely. But does that mean he was done? I don't think so. I don't think that means he was done. But yes, you're right. I think when people think, if they only think of what's happening right now, and that's obviously the divorce stuff. All right, next up, we got Josh Katz who writes, one of two. Hey, John, daily viewer since the early AMC days. Oh, and I forgot to mute my phone. Let me mute it. By the way, I've been using you guys know, I decided to get an iPhone. I got the iPhone 13 Pro Max here, okay? I still prefer my Android, but I will say a few things about this Pro Max have been growing on me. A couple things quick. The battery life on this is crazy. This is the best battery life I've ever had on a phone. I've never seen another phone. I thought the battery life on my Samsung Note 20 Ultra was good, and it was. This is on a whole new level. I've never seen a battery this good on a phone, so I'm very, very impressed with the battery. Also, my car, I have a Toyota CHR, right? My car has Apple CarPlay in it. It doesn't have Android Auto. So I've never been able to use that feature. Using Apple CarPlay in my CHR, because the CHR's got this big display screen, right? Has been awesome. It's changed the game for me driving. I actually find, I don't like driving, but driving I now actually find to be a pleasure having Apple CarPlay in it. It just makes it a lot more useful, having access to everything right there on my screen. It's great. It's been fantastic. I love being able to airdrop within. It makes things a little bit easier there. The reason I got this phone in the first place was because I'm doing more and more video out of the studio, like out of the theater reviews and some vlogging and stuff like that. And obviously, even though I think my Samsung takes better pictures, this is supposed to do better video, and it does do better video. So while I still miss my Samsung Note 20 Ultra, I gotta say there are some features about this iPhone that is really growing on me. Anyway, enough of the side thing here. Where were we at here? Now that I've turned the ringer on my phone off, let's get back to Josh. Daily viewer since the AMC days. Thank you so much, Josh. You've seriously helped me get through so much, and no tip amount will show the gratitude I have for you and your channel. Oh, thank you so much for that, Josh. I appreciate that, man. Seeing you on stage at LA Kamikaze was an absolute highlight. I remember that day. Was an absolute highlight of my childhood. Just wanted to send in these tips to thank you, but I do have a recommendation. I think you should leave on Netflix is hysterical sketch comedy. Seriously, one of the goats of sketch to me. And don't forget to breathe in between laughing. Bring on the filthy. You know what, Josh? I have not watched I Think You Should Leave yet. But I've had a number of my friends actually tell me, actually just this weekend, I had a buddy of mine said they were asking if hey, did you see this sketch? And I'm like, no. I've had people telling me that it's really, really good. So at some point, I think I am going to check that one out. So thanks for adding your voice to the recommendation, Josh. And thank you so much for the kind words, man. I really appreciate that. Okay, next up. Jeff Nutston writes, Eternals is at 59% on Rotten Tomatoes. Not to make excuses for the movie, but is it possible, due to the creation/world building, that some viewers may have religious issues with the film? I used to be that way once. What do you think? All right, so here's the thing. We talked about this last week. Eternals is officially, it was one of our big topics last week. Eternals is officially the lowest critically rated MCU film ever. Certainly not the lowest comic book rated film. Many others are lower, but the lowest rated MCU film ever. And right now it's sitting at 59%, which means, don't forget, that still means a majority of the critics like it. Like if you got all the critics together, the majority like this movie. The majority of critics like it still. But it is the smallest majority. You can't overlook this. It is the smallest majority of critics that there has ever been for an MCU film. Whenever a movie doesn't get the critic ratings that people want it to have, we generally try to look for an excuse. You know, they try to look for a reason it didn't get it. And listen, the bottom line is this. The reason it has the lowest critic score of any MCU film, as much as the majority like it, it's still the lowest. The reason it has the lowest critic rating score so far is simply this. Are you ready? This is good. This is a deep, deep, deep thought here, but brace yourself. Is because 41% of the critics who watched it didn't like it. It's just that simple. And listen, all film is art. Art hits us all in different ways. We all have different, we may all like, not Jared Leto, Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. We may all like it, but we all have our own very different, unique reasons for liking it because art hits us all in different ways. And so, no, there is no magic bullet. Now, do I believe there might be some people out there that the religious connotations of Eternals may affect their overall viewing and enjoyment of it? Sure, but that would be true of any movie or of anything, but that'll be unique to them. It's just this simple. Why did 41% of critics not like Eternals? Because for whatever their own each unique individual reasons are, it didn't work for them. Maybe it was because of pacing issues for them. Maybe because it was the characters for them. Maybe it was because of the dialogue for them. Maybe it was because of the story for them. Maybe it was because of the religious connotations for them. But the point is, every film will hit everybody in a unique and different way, and we'll all have our own unique experiences with it. And there's no point or use in us trying to find, well, this is the excuse why it did. There's no point in doing that, Jeff. And I know you're saying you're not trying to make an excuse for it either. But is it possible that that's one of the reasons that maybe some other critics didn't like it? Maybe, but that would be true of any movie as well. It would be true of any movie as well. All right, let's move on here. Next up, we got Taki75 who writes, let's see, where are we at? Where did Taki go? Taki75 writes, I like No Time to Die, minus the dreadful villain with the inscrutable motivations, but I agree 100% with Robert Meyer Burnett that Craig's Bond has outstayed his welcome. Whoever succeeds him, the character is in desperate need of more mirth and joie de vivre, or however you pronounce that in French, I can't, joie de vivre, whatever it is, and thanks. I completely disagree. The whole notion that, and I'll tell you why I disagree. The idea that Bond has outstayed, that Craig's Bond has outstayed his welcome. Really? Because guess what? Look up the biggest earning, the most attended James Bond movies of all time. They're Daniel Craig movies. I think like the top 3 most popular James Bond movies of all time are all Daniel Craig movies. The simple happy-go-lucky James Bond did not do as well as the Daniel Craig James Bonds. And mostly because of this. The Daniel Craig James Bond is, you've got to remember, is the first time that James Bond has ever actually been in one sort of storyline. Like every James Bond movie, for the most part, has been its own unique standalone thing. It's like a sitcom on TV. There's not normally a big storyline in sitcoms. It's like every individual episode is its own standalone thing, right? For most of the time, and for the most part, all the James Bond movies have always kind of been one-shot movies, with a few little exceptions here and there. The Daniel Craig James Bond run has been really the first time where they've done like 5 movies that are really one connected story. That means the repercussions and the consequences of each of the previous movies continues to weigh on the character. And we see that becoming a real part of him. Now, we still see him do his James Bondisms for sure. But at the same time, if you're going to make this with any sort of, to quote Robert a little bit, with any sort of verisimilitude, you're also going to have to show the repercussions and the consequences of the things that happened before and how that will eventually weigh on him. And I personally think that works. Now, again, that doesn't get away from the fact that No Time to Die did not have a good villain. And I don't know that it needed to be as long as it was. That's all true. But I think the disposition of Craig, I think that was one of the pluses and maybe why it appealed to more audiences than previous James Bond films. Again, that's just my opinion, though. By the way, Cesar Rivera sends in a super chat badge in the live chat. Thank you, Cesar. Appreciate that, man. Okay, let's move on here. Next up, we have Chris W. who writes, "Hello, John. We always see monsters like vampires and werewolves in horror movies. While I like them, they seem overused. Is there a monster you wish was used more often in movies? And what is your favorite non-vampire / werewolf monster movie?" I don't know. That's not something, Chris, I walk around off the top of my head. No, there's no monsters I wish they used more of. I don't really think in those terms. And as far as a favorite monster movie that isn't vampire or werewolf related, I don't know. It depends on what qualifies as a monster movie. I mean, is any King Kong movie or any Godzilla movie, or maybe you consider a Pacific Rim as a monster movie? Is Harry and the Hendersons a monster movie? Is Gremlins a monster movie? I mean, I'm not really sure. Marcus Y in the live chat just mentioned Tremors. Tremors is a great monster movie. I love Tremors. That's great. You had Remo Williams and 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon in the same movie. Remo Williams and Kevin Bacon in the same movie, right on. And the dad from who was the dad in the Michael J. Fox Family Ties? Yeah, what was the actor? The guy who played the dad, Mr. Keaton in Family Ties. But anyway, he was in Tremors as well. Tremors is fantastic. So I'm not really sure what I'd say my favorite one is, because I'd have to think about it, but I don't really have any specific monster that they need to use more of in thing. Some people are saying Cloverfield. Honestly, I think Cloverfield wasn't very good. I think Cloverfield is way overrated. That's just my opinion. I know a lot of people like Cloverfield. I thought it was way overrated. Guys are saying in the live chat, Donnie Peterson, Bad Wolf Media, Jeremy King, Ben Rayner, all saying Michael Gross. By the way, Michael Gross, also the star of the greatest terrible movie of all time, Vanilla Ice's Cool as Ice. Yip, yip, she likes me. That's right. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. Michael Gross from Family Ties and Tremors plays the girl's dad in that movie. The greatest horrible movie of all time. Greatest horrible movie of all time. Vanilla Ice. Cool as Ice. All right. With that down, let's move on here. Next up, that was Chris W., I think. Yes. Where are we? Anonymous writes, what impresses me regarding Eternal's Rotten Tomato score is how badly Feige and company misjudged the critics' reaction. They really drank their own Kool-Aid about this being the best MCU movie ever. Otherwise, they would have probably delayed lifting the review embargo. Well, I mean, look, here's the thing. Nobody bats 1,000. Look, like Kevin Feige kind of, and I heard from people inside Disney saying that inside Disney, they really believe that Eternals was the best movie they ever made. I disagree with it. And having seen the movie twice now, and I'm going to see it a third time tomorrow. I like the film. I'm going to go see it for a third time tomorrow, but it is not the greatest MCU movie ever made. Let's just be, it's not even the greatest MCU movie that's come out this year. That goes to Shang-Chi. Not Black Widow, not Eternals. That goes to Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi is the best MCU movie this year. So not only is Eternals not the greatest MCU movie ever, it's not even the greatest MCU movie this year. But listen, this just goes back to the fact that it's all subjective. Like if Kevin Feige watched this movie and he really believed this is the best thing we've ever done, then to Kevin Feige, it's the best movie they've ever done. If it hits him that way, and by the way, we still don't know what the audience reaction is going to be. Remember this, in as much as we're all talking, myself included, like the title of the show on Friday was Eternals is the lowest critic rated thing of all time. In as much as we're focusing on that, let's remember this. Joker, Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, only has 9 points higher, is only 9% higher critically rated than Eternals was, than Eternals is right now. Only 9%. Because I believe it was at 68. I could be wrong about that. Let me double check this. Joker, Rotten Tomatoes. I think the last time I checked, which is a while ago, I think Joker was at 68%. And it still is. Yes, it's 68%. So with Eternals being at 59, Joker was only 9% higher. And it got nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards. The audiences loved it and stuff like that. 95% of the time, the general critic score and the general audience score are close to each other. Like even on Rotten Tomatoes, the audience score and the critic score is only 20% apart. But still, you know, it happens. It got 68%, nominated for Best Picture, won Joaquin Phoenix Academy Award, audiences love it, blah, blah. That could still happen with Eternals. I don't know. Like, remember, ever since I saw Eternals, I've been telling you guys, I simply don't know. I can't get a beat on how I think the audiences are going to react to this one. I really liked it. Rob liked it even more than I did. But, you know, it just, I just don't know. So I'm not going to be surprised at all. I'll tell you straight up. I am not going to be surprised if Eternals gets a 90% audience rating. I won't be surprised. I also won't be surprised if it gets a 60% audience rating. I really don't know. But we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see. And so I don't know that it's Feige misread the... Listen, they are like 26 films in now, and their winning percentage is like nothing the movie industry has ever seen. So they're not always going to be on the money. But yeah, ultimately, do I agree with Kevin Feige that this could be the greatest Marvel movie of all time? No. No, I like it very much. I think it's very good. I think it's very bold. I think it's very different for an MCU film. All that stuff, it's good. But is it the best film they've ever made? No, it's not even the best film they put out this year. All right, that's just my take on it at any rate. All right, next up. Dan S. writes, When the first Wheel of Time book the first Wheel of Time book does have a lot of similar story beats to Fellowship of the Ring, but by the end it becomes its own thing. There's enough different details to make it feel much different when read through. Super hyped for the show. The books are my faves. Yeah, I wasn't really big on the first kind of teaser they dropped for the Wheel of Time series coming. This next one I think felt much better. And while I am not somebody who's read the books of it, I'm familiar with the material. I know a bit about it, but I never sat down and read them. So I'm kind of going into Wheel of Time clean. I gotta say this last trailer was pretty damn good. I thought the last one was pretty damn good. All right, Marie Seifring writes, "Hey, John, you may have already noticed this from people in the comments." Yes, I had some people write into me. I know where you're going with this. Section of yesterday's show. You missed one of Crashing Coyote's questions. He asked, if you can actually say Eternals is the lowest rated MCU movie yet, only 95 reviews versus Black Panther's 595 reviews. Okay. That is, yeah, and I missed that one question. I was made aware that I missed that question, so thank you for putting that on the radar, Marie. Let me just go over to Eternals here for a second on Rotten Tomatoes while I've got Rotten Tomatoes up. Okay, so yes, it's got 59%. But, hey, I mean, it's only 90-something reviews. As of right now, it's 133 reviews. But still, that's nothing compared to Black Panther's nearly 600 reviews. The thing could change. Here's the thing about, getting these averages. Once you hit about 70 to 100 reviews, you know what the average is now going to be. I'm not saying that once Eternals hits 500 reviews that it will be exactly 59%. It could move, but it's only going to move a couple of percentage points. Maybe up, maybe down. It's only going to move a couple of percentage points now. Once you get a big enough sample size, like 70 to 100 different reviews, that generally gives you an idea where it's going to be. Eternals is not going to end up being a 42% on Rotten Tomatoes. And Eternals is not going to end up being a 73% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's going to be either 59% or be close to 59% because there's already... Now, it's not like there was only 18 reviews so far. There's like over 100 reviews. And I think that gives us more than a big enough sample size. More than a big enough sample size to give us a general idea about where it's going to come in. So yes, it is fair to say, whether it's 59, 60, 61, or 58, 57, 56, that right around 59% is where this thing's going to stay. Because we've already got a big enough sample size that we get a feel for what the general consensus is going to be. So that's my take on that. Thanks for putting that in there, Marie. And thank you, Crashing Coyote, for submitting that question in the first place. All right, next up. Agent J writes, Bonjour, Jean. Bonjour, Agent J. Comment t'appelles-tu? I'm very late to the party and just saw Shang-Chi. Love it. You just saw it. Oh, my goodness. And I loved it. Funny thing, Tony Leung resembles a lot a French actor called Richard Berry. That made me grin the whole time. What is your favorite celebrity lookalike? Bon journée. I don't read French very well. I can understand a bit of French. I can speak a little bit of French. Can't read it very well. Okay. Me and Anne were just talking about a couple actresses that look a lot alike. Okay, here's one that caught me really by surprise, which is Margot Robbie and, damn it, what is the actress's name from, oh, now I'm freezing. There was that little horror movie out last year, and I can't remember the name of it. Thank you, Harvey King. Put in, and Marcus Y put in Samara Weaving. That's right, Samara Weaving. What was the name of the movie she did? That little horror movie she just did? It was like hide and seek, come out wherever you are, Ready or Not. What was the name of it? That little horror movie, Ready or Not. There it is. From Jeremy King put in Ready or Not. So did Tyler Hoffman. Ready or Not, right? They look so much alike. It was to the point that most people assumed when they saw the trailer to Ready or Not, people were assuming that was Margot Robbie. Everybody thought it was Margot Robbie. Which is kind of crazy. Somebody else put in another really good one in here. Johnny Depp and Skeet Ulrich. I remember a lot. I think it was Jesse put that in the live chat. That was another one that confused a lot of people. I saw one other one. Where did it go? Somebody was saying, it disappeared. Oh, I don't see it anymore, but there's a couple of them. I don't think of a lot of them otherwise. I can't think of a lot of others. Red Cornet is saying Jessica Chastain and Bryce Dallas Howard. Yeah, I can see that one a little bit. Alistair is saying Kate Beckinsale and Ryan Reynolds. There you go. Kate Beckinsale is Ryan Reynolds. And yeah, so there's a bunch. I don't know if I have a lot that I think of. Oh, Jeremy, the other one that somebody wrote was Javier Bardem and Jeffrey Dean Morgan. I don't think I see a lot of similarity there. Isla Fisher and A.B. Adams is one being written in. That's not a bad one. That's a pretty good one too. So yeah, anyway, there are a few. All right, next up, we go to Remmer Bulldog, who writes, "Hey, John, I'm super excited for Eternals despite the Rotten Tomatoes score because there's a lot of movies that the critics don't love that I enjoyed. Look at Joker. It had a 68%. We were just talking about that rating, but I love that movie. Or Venom. Or Venom, Part 2. Just because the critics were not in love with the Eternals does not mean the audience will not. And I'm not surprised because it's not your typical Marvel movie. And to some people, that's going to be a turnoff. And people are going crazy because Eternals is at 65. Well, now it's at 59 critic rating, which is still fresh. I understand it's the lowest, but if it wasn't a Marvel movie, people would not be making a big deal out of this. People have extremely high expectations for... Is there a part 4? Yeah, part 4. That should go to show you the expectations for MCU movies are higher than other movies. But that's all I got to say. Thanks. And what are your thoughts? Well, yeah, listen. The expectations always play a role in things. By the way, I just want to give a shout out to Harry Villela. Villela, I'm sure I'm mispronouncing your name, Harry, who sends in a super chat badge in the live chat. Thank you, man. I appreciate that very much. Yeah, listen, look, I think you brought up a great... Now, normally, like I said, critics love Endgame. Woo! We all loved Endgame. Critics loved the first Wonder Woman. Yeah, most of us loved Wonder Woman. Critics loved... most of the time, the critics love these movies, and we love them. That's what happens most of the time. But expectations can become a thing. How much of a part does that play with Eternals? I'm not sure. Again, remember, when I came out of Eternals, I said, look, this is so foundationally a different movie than any other MCU movie. Like, all MCU movies are different from each other. But at the core, when you come out, you know you've watched an MCU movie. That is not the case with Eternals. And I said when I watched this thing, I don't know how people are going to respond to that. Maybe some critics, maybe a bunch of the audience, I don't know. But it's not a hard and fast guarantee. While the majority of the time, the critics and the audience do agree on these movies. The critics love Days of Future Past, and the audience loved it. The critics love Spider-Man, Homecoming. The audiences love Spider-Man. I mean, most of the time, the audiences and the critics agree. But it's not a 100% guarantee. I think Venom is a great example of that. I freaking love Venom. I love that first movie. I really like the second one too, but I love the first one, and the critics did not like it. I mean, a lot of the critics did, but a good chunk of critics did not. Again, we were just talking about Joker. Joker is only 9% higher rated than this one. So while the vast majority of the time the audience and the critics will be pretty much be on the same wavelength, it's not a guarantee. And just because the critics didn't like something as much, that doesn't mean the audiences won't completely respond to it. So we'll see. I don't have a prediction what the audience score on Eternal is going to be. I just know that I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a real breath of fresh air. It's an amazingly huge, wide scope of a film. And I'm looking forward to seeing it for a third time tomorrow night. I won't see it 7 times like I saw Shang-Chi, but I am going to go see it for my third time tomorrow night. So we'll see how that goes. All right. Next up, we've got Jay Bling, who writes, "You made a brief aside about the absence of comedies this year when talking about the People's Choice nominations for comedy movie." Yes, we did do that on Friday. "I think that deserves more attention because it's not just this year. Stand-up comedies have been in short supply late." I agree. And we've talked about that a few times. Like, it feels like the era where we would get 2 or 3 Anchorman, 40-Year-Old Virgin, Dodgeball, whatever kind of comedies every year. And it feels like it's been harder and harder for a really great comedy to break through, or for us to even get a really great comedy. I completely agree with you, Jay Bling. I feel like we've been feeling a little bit of a lack of those. And I hope we return a little bit more to the glory days of more great comedies coming out. All right. Alex Cruz writes, "Dude, John, Did you hear Mark Zuckerberg announce Facebook's new company name to Meta and how they are going to be building the future of the internet as we know it as the metaverse? Crazy stuff, huh? Yeah. Listen, you know what I write that up to? And I'm not a tech blogger. I'm just going to say this is all distraction. Like, Facebook is under a lot of fire right now. And I feel like this whole changing the company name to Meta was just to act as a distraction. I really do. I think it was all just to act as a distraction. But who knows? We'll see. All right. Sapper Morton writes, have you seen the new comedy Ghosts on CBS starring Rose McIver? I am loving it so far. It's based on a British series of the same name, but after the first 2 episodes, it starts doing its own thing. I highly recommend it. I've seen a commercial for it. And I remember watching a commercial for this show Ghosts. It was during Halloween. It's like, oh, Halloween is you ghost kind of. I thought it looked stupid. Now, I haven't seen it though. Like, maybe if I watched it, I would think it was great, but I haven't seen it. It's not caught my attention at all. And the trailers or the commercials I saw for it did not do anything to make me excited for it. So, hey, listen, if I hear enough people recommend it, I'll give it a shot, just like I did for Harley Quinn. But right now, I got to say, Sapper, it doesn't really interest me, but you are the first one to recommend it. If I get a ton of people recommending it to me, I will go and check it out. Thanks for putting that on the radar, man. All right, next up. Dangerous D writes, and by the way, Ms. Marvel, great username. Ms. Marvel sends in a super chat badge in the live chat. Thank you, Ms. Marvel. Dangerous D writes, hi, John. Another John Wick spinoff is already in the works. Yes, I read about this, and it's called Ballerina. It's about a young female assassin, and they're trying to get Ana de Armas to play the lead role, who is just in James Bond No Time to Die. The premise sounds like the film Red Sparrow. It totally does, with Jennifer Lawrence. Your thoughts? Yeah, I started to hear that Ana de Armas may not be in this thing, but again, I think it's still unsettled. I think it's still a little bit up in the air. We'll see where that goes. Ever since the last John Wick film, when we were kind of introduced to the ballerinas, much like in John Wick, we're introduced to the Hotel Continental, you become a little bit fascinated. What's the background of this? And I kind of felt that way too when we got to the ballerinas in John Wick 3. I'm like, I would like to know more about this. This seems like it'd be cool. You're right. It does sound a little bit like Red Sparrow with Jennifer Lawrence, which not a bad movie. Not great either, but if they are able to do this and get Ana de Armas in it, sign me up. If not, as long as they get a talented actress, I think it'd be great. I'm very much looking forward to this 3-episode Hotel Continental thing. I think that's going to be really good, and I'm going to be interested to see where they go with this ballerina thing. All right, next up. By the way, IRGORGO, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, sends in a super chat badge in live chat. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that, dude. All right. Next up, Jonathan writes, I'm very curious, John, since you know a lot of actor friends like Aaron, have you ever watched a show or film starring someone you know as a friend like Aaron that wasn't good? If so, how did you approach your honest review to said friend? Must be awkward. It is a little bit awkward. It's a little bit awkward. I mean, look, Aaron's a good example because Aaron had just done my movie, The Anniversary, for me, right? And then she had this new series, Spartacus, coming out on Starz, which is now my number 3 all-time favorite television show ever. It's amazing. But that show got off to a rough start. Because the first 2 episodes, the first 2.5 episodes, are some of the worst television I've ever seen. Some of the worst television I've ever seen. Like, I've recommended Spartacus to everybody. It's my number 3 favorite all-time show ever. But a lot of people watch the first episode and they go back to me, hey, John, am I watching the right show? I'm like, hey, listen, I know. The first 2.5 episodes, garbage. Some of the worst television ever made. But, oh, my God, once you get to the end of episode 3 and then in episode 4, woo, it becomes must-watch. It's amazing. But the first 3 are totally rough. And I remember having this, Aaron's like, man, I love seeing you in it. I'll keep watching because you're in it. But right now, I don't know if you're working with good people or not because this isn't so good. Another good example of it is, 2 of the first friends in the industry I made, 2 great guys, Mark Neveldine, Brian Taylor, the duo that made the Jason Statham Crank movies. They also did Gamer with Gerard Butler and Milo Ventimiglia. And I love the Crank movies. Totally love the Crank movies. And these 2 guys, Mark Neveldine and Brian Taylor, these writer-directors, they're the ones who kind of, them and Milo Ventimiglia are the reasons I met Anne. And I've told that story before, so you guys know that story. So I'm also indebted to these guys, like for the rest of my life. I'm indebted to Mark and Brian. Totally am. And I love them. And I love their filmmaking. But then they did Gamer. And Gamer is not good. Gamer is not good. And I remember having to have a conversation with the guys when they were asking. So, like, I had a chance to watch Gamer, and I was really excited for Gamer because I thought it looked great. And I watched Gamer, and they talking to Brian on the phone. So, what do you think? I'm like, I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I don't think this was your best work, right? I honestly don't think this was your best work, and which is fair. Because when they watched my movie, The Anniversary, they're like, to be honest with you, John. Anyway, so it's all fair. But yeah, and I'll give you another example. I'm not going to say who. But you guys know there are a number of celebrities and actors who follow me on Twitter, and I have conversations with them on Twitter privately, right? So I don't talk about who they are, but there's one that I really like a lot, and in the last number of months, they had put something out that I didn't think was all that good, and I remember getting a tweet back. I remember getting a Twitter message from them, and they just with one word that just said, ouch. They didn't even say, hey, I watched you talk about this, or hey, man, I heard you talk. No, it was just one word in the message. Ouch. So here's the thing. I've got to be, look, at the end of the day, I'm just a freaking piss in my pants major movie fan. That's all I am. I am a piss in my pants major movie fan. That's it. And when I find out, when I found out, it was not Kumail Nanjiani, okay, just so you know. But I remember like 2 or 3 years ago when I found out Kumail Nanjiani was following me on Twitter. Like I literally stopped what I was doing to call my wife, and say, oh my God, like I'm just pissing myself. Like, John, act like a professional. But I don't care. I'm just a piss in my pants fan. That's all I am. I'm a fucking nobody from Canada that sits in my converted garage in my home that I made in some little studio and does a YouTube show. I'm fucking nobody, okay? And so that sort of stuff freaks me out. Like I remember when I found out Michael Jai White follows me, like I freak out. Like that's me. Like seriously, I just lose my shit over that. John, act like a professional. Act like you've been there. No. I piss my pants. I totally piss my pants. So I am totally aware of that when I'm talking about a project of somebody that I'm a big fan of and maybe even follows me on social media and maybe I've even had some conversations with, whatever. But at the end of the day, all I have with my audience, the only thing I have, you've heard me say this before, the only thing that I have to offer my audience is my honest opinion. My honest perspective and my honest opinion. And quite often, my honest opinion is not the popular thing. You guys know this. I often say things that gets people quite upset. But I don't try to upset people. My job is just to give you my honest opinion. And it's not my job to tell people what they want to hear. And it's not my job to convince other people to see things my way. My job is to give my perspective and hopefully give it in such a way that it helps my viewers, whether they agree with me or disagree, sharpen their own understanding about why they agree or why they disagree with me. And if I do that, that's my job. But so yeah, I am aware when I'm giving a negative thought on something involving somebody that I know either watches my stuff or follows me or whatever. Does that make it a little bit awkward? Well, only awkward in the sense that I'm aware of it, but I can't let that stop me from giving my honest opinion. I can't let that stop me. You know, I'll give one little example. I shouldn't, but this is already public knowledge. You guys know this already, so it doesn't really matter. But should I say this example? I don't know if I should say this. Okay, I'll give this example. You guys know I'm a huge fan of Stephen Amell. Massive fan of Stephen Amell. I think the guy is great. Good Canadian kid too. And just a really awesome guy. And he contacted me, came out of nowhere, came onto our Arrow After show. You guys remember this? He came on our show. He came down into Hollywood, came into our studio, did our Arrow After show with me and Ann. Couldn't have been nicer, couldn't have been greater, right? But the reality is sometime after that happened, the Arrow show started to go in a direction that I wasn't enjoying anymore. I wasn't loving the show anymore. And yeah, Stephen Amell followed me on Twitter, and Stephen Amell came on our show, and was awesome of him to do it. And it would have been easy for me to just go, hey guys, I still love Arrow. But the reality was the show stopped working for me. Not because of Stephen Amell. I think Stephen Amell was still bringing it every single week. Week in and week out, Stephen Amell was bringing it. But I thought the writers were failing the show. You have failed this city. Yeah, I felt like the writers were starting to fail the show. And I got to be honest about it. It doesn't matter that Stephen Amell was following me on social media, that Stephen Amell was coming into my studio, and hell, Stephen Amell even sent this awesome birthday video to my wife, Ann, made her feel like $1 million. I will be in his debt forever. And I think the dude's awesome. But I didn't like where Arrow was going anymore after that. And I had to be honest about it. And I don't think Stephen Amell follows me on Twitter anymore when I started becoming critical of Arrow, but it doesn't matter. I have to give my honest opinion. Whether celebrities like it or not, whether my own viewers like it or not, I got to be honest, because that's all I've got. All I got is my honest opinion. All I've got is my own perspective, and that's all I have to share. And if I'm not sharing that, then there's no point in me being here. So yeah, if Erin puts out something that sucks, I got to tell her I thought it sucked. That's just the way it is. It happens. All right. Thanks for sharing that. Okay. Next up, or asking that. I appreciate that, man. Who was that? Was that Jonathan? Yeah, that was Jonathan. Next up, Last Duel Review writes, acting was great, but with these actors like Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, is it really any surprise? Plot, boring. Oh, the plot was not boring. I don't know what you're smoking. Repetitive. Do we really need to see a sexual assault scene twice? NMS. Kept checking my watch and nearly fell asleep. Fell asleep on part 1. Grade D-. I thought the film was very good. I thought the movie was very good, but my one critique of The Last Duel was that the way they structured their story for me, I don't think served this movie very well. The way they decided to tell the story from 3 different perspectives, like tell it once and then tell it all again and then tell it all again. To me, the structure of the show was not done well. I just think it didn't serve the movie well. Overall, I still thought the movie was great. The story was fantastic. The character dynamics were incredible. The interrelationships between the characters were great. I was digging the bromance between Ben Affleck's character and Adam Driver's character. I thought it was a really well-made movie, very, very good movie. But the structure of the narrative impeded it a bunch, and it made it feel like it was having pacing issues. So anyway, that's just my take on it. But overall, I thought it was really good. Okay, next up. Jonathan writes, damn, that Lightyear trailer was on another level. Pixar just knocking it out with their animation. Definitely one of my most anticipated movies of 2022 now. After Soul, I'm craving another Pixar film and on the big screen. Me too. I am loving and waiting for a Pixar film to get back into the theaters. That Lightyear trailer totally caught me by surprise. I don't know why they put out a trailer that early, to be honest with you. I think it was way too early for them to put out that Lightyear trailer. Just being honest, there was no point in putting out that Lightyear trailer this early. It served no purpose. That being said, as I crack out another Zevia. Zevia Cola, sponsor me, you cheap sons of bitches. Even though that trailer was completely unnecessary right now and poorly timed and should not have come out this early, God, that trailer was good, man. To infinity and cut, It was a great trailer. I cannot wait to see it, man. I cannot wait to see it. All right. Next up. Cryo writes, hey, John. I know you don't do which director would be good for which movie, but oh my God, James Gunn, Borderlands. How perfect of a combination would that be? Even if it's already being done by Eli Roth. I think Eli Roth is a pretty damn good fit for a thing like Borderlands. Anyway, the humor of Borderlands matches with his style perfectly. Sure. I mean, look, if James Gunn was announced as the director of Borderlands, I would think that's great, but that doesn't mean he's the only guy who can do that, and it doesn't even necessarily mean he's the best guy to do it. Just get a great director who knows how to tell a story and bring something to life. I think Eli Roth is going to do a good job with this. I really do. And I do love James Gunn. Everybody knows I love James Gunn. All right, next up. Jonathan writes, 1 of 3. Picture this. You're watching a movie on the big screen. Story is great. Loving the characters. You're sucked into everything. Then, out of nowhere, someone presses the pause button and the movie stops completely. All of a sudden, you see this random guy step into frame and say, hey, everyone, these are all the problems we face in society, and here's how we should deal with them. And you sit there wondering, wait, how does this connect with the movie? This, to me, is how most movies nowadays put out their messages. Sometimes I just want to be entertained. Sometimes a message about love and empathy, universal lessons, is enough. Not what social issues are trending on Twitter today. I don't know. My opinion. Thanks. Thanks a lot for sharing that, Jonathan. But, you know, what I would say to you, though, Jonathan, is this. Movies have always been that way. Movies are about art reflecting life. Movies are an artist's interpretation of the way they see the world, the way it is, the way it could be, the way they wish it would be, the things they fear about it, and where that could be leading us. Hell, even Star Wars. I don't know why more people don't understand this. Star Wars itself is very much a political movie. You know, George Lucas has talked about the fact that, you know, when you look at the whole thing of the rebellion and the empire and all that kind of stuff, that was George Lucas's political commentary on what was going on in the world at the time that he was making that. Movies have always done this. That's what art does. Art looks, and there's a big issue going on in society that is going to be reflected in art. And that includes movies. It has never not been that way. It's never not been that way. And the only time people usually have a problem with it is when the artistic impression of the issue at hand being portrayed in the movie is not one that they agree with. Then they have a problem with it. If it's one they agree with, then it's all good. You know what I mean? But that's us as people in general, right? Now, I also don't like it when movies get preachy. But it's not often that I find a movie gets particularly preachy. It does happen, but I don't think bringing up an issue, right? Like, I remember having this conversation with this knuckle dragger once who was like, there was a movie, and it wasn't Eternals, this is going back a bit, where a gay character was shown giving a kiss to their partner. It was quick, it was brief, it's barely anything at all. It just showed like this character was gay. He had a gay partner, obviously, and one moment in the movie, they share a quick kiss, and then the guy moves on, right? And I remember this guy saying, oh, I hate it when movies try to force down our throats this huge agenda. I'm like, force down your throat? Dude, it was a quick scene showing what would be happening between this character if they were about to do what they were about to do with their loved one. The movie wasn't about it. It just happened quick. It's in the movie. Blah. Nothing was shoved down your throat. It's just, that's life. Open your door and see the world outside. That's the world we live in. And art will reflect the world we live in. Sometimes from one perspective, sometimes another. I don't like it when movies get preachy. That's one of the reasons why I do not like Christian movies. Like, even when I was in seminary, I didn't like Christian movies. I thought me and everybody I went to seminary with, we all thought Christian movies were the worst. But that being said, that is the way movies are and the way movies always will be. Sometimes it'll be much lighter, sometimes it'll go heavier, but these are artists, you know, making a piece of art that reflects either the world they are in, the world they wish the way it would be, the way they fear it could be, all that kind of stuff. That's art. And it's always been a part. Hell, even Star Wars. That's where it comes from. That's the root of Star Wars. But it's going to be a part of it. But again, I also don't like it when it gets to the point that it's preachy, but I think that's rare. I think that's pretty rare, but that's just me. All right, next up. Boris writes, 1 of 2. Hey, John, When you got borderline emotional at catching up on your tips, I was like, damn, he's going to have mad sleep tonight. Then you said you're going to do an After Dark, and I was like, yeah, which I didn't do because something came up and I was going to do an After Dark. We haven't done an After Dark in a couple of weeks just because I've been crazy busy. And we were going to try to do one Friday, but that went by the wayside. It didn't happen. But we are going to do an After Dark this week. I promise. We are going to do an After Dark this week. Anyway, and I was like, wow, never mind. Either way, get some sleep. 3 a.m. is too late, my dude. Yeah, I have not been getting a lot of sleep lately. But, man, when we got caught up on those tip questions on Friday, it's the first time it happened in months. I felt so damn good because I've been doing a lot of companion videos, and I had just done like a 2-hour companion video the night before. So to do the show Friday and actually get to the end and actually be caught up on all the tip questions that came in, that felt really good. That felt really good. I did almost get emotional. Anyway, now that I'm done being your dad, me and my friends just booked tickets for Eternals next week, and I'm freaking pumped. Every sour note I hear just gets me more excited. Every concern and worry I hear makes me think of Rob's review, and I still can't wait. Yeah, listen, Rob ended up loving Eternals, like more than I did. Like I didn't know how Rob would react to Eternals because I don't know how anybody's going to react to Eternals. But if you guys saw the Rob's immediately out of the theater reaction, he loved this movie. Absolutely loved, like more than I did, but it was really crazy how much he liked it. Thanks for writing that in, Boris. Okay, next up, Joe Hill writes, I rewatched the Rush Hour trilogy tonight. Still hilarious, and the action is so great. What are your thoughts on the trilogy? In our landscape of reviewing franchises, do you think we'll get a 4th movie? Also, like, whatever happened to Chris Tucker? I'm going to be honest, it's funny how much this has come up a little bit lately. How Rush Hour's come up. So, I do not like the Rush Hour trilogy, except for the second film. I really like the second film. The second Rush Hour movie, to me, is honestly, it might be in my top 15 favorite action comedies of all time. Like, I really like it that much. And who's the girl in it? Zhang Ziyi? Is that the name of the girl in the second one? Anyway, she was also in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and a bunch of other things. It's either Zhang Ziyi I think it's Zhang Ziyi. Anyway, love the second one. Absolutely love it. I did not like the first one. I didn't hate the first one, but I did not like the first one all that much. And the third one I thought was ass awful. I really hated the third one. I'm not going to lie to you. I thought it was terrible. So overall, I'm not a big fan of the franchise. But within that franchise is that one film. The second film I thought was terrific. I think the chemistry between Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan, that's when it was firing on all cylinders. Their banter, everything about that was fantastic. The action was the best that it's been in the franchise. It had the best story of it. I really love the second film. Not so big on the first and third one though, but that's just me. All right, next up. We've got Javier Oliva writes, hey, John, big fan since the Iron Man 3 review. Thank you. So I remember doing that review. Thank you, dude. Feige told us not to raise our expectations with Spider-Man rumors, but it is difficult when they say that this is Spider-Man Endgame. Haven't they seen Endgame? Come on. What do you think about this strategy? I mean, look, saying Endgame, though, is not him saying this is the biggest, most impressive movie we've ever done. That's just him saying kind of, this is drawing a particular storyline to conclusion. Which is why, just another reason why I personally believe that this is going to harken Spider-Man going back over to Sony and exiting the MCU. At least temporarily, we'll see him. I think my guess is we'll see him pop up now and again in the MCU. But again, another reason, him using that term endgame to me just kind of reaffirms my belief, and it's only a belief, I don't know this is fact, my belief that we're going to see Spider-Man exit the MCU and go over to Sony. So we'll see, man. We'll see what it all means when it's all said and done. All right. Next up, we have, that was Javier, I believe. Yes. An anonymous viewer writes, Denis Villeneuve said several times that Dune would have to make a catastrophic low numbers for it not to have a sequel because Warner Brothers was fully behind. So it's not like they fooled us. At Venice, Warner Brothers execs told Chalamet they had to do the sequel now, but it was not set yet. Yeah, I heard all that and I don't believe it. I read all that too. I don't believe it. The fact that when they announced that they were doing it and that they already had a release date that was not all that far away, to me, that, again, I've had no insider sources tell me that this is the case. So this is me as a fan speculating, just be very clear. But this, to me, it seems more and more obvious was all a work. This whole thing, oh, we don't know if we're going to do Dune 2. To me, this was all a work. This was all Warner Brothers trying to artificially create a release Dune 2 movement. They were trying to get the fans to create this thing. They were trying to artificially recreate the hashtag release the Snyder Cut movement. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get that, repeat that. They're trying to artificially create that. I think they were always planning on doing Dune 2. I think whatever they told Chalamet or whatever they told Villeneuve, I think at the end of the day, this was all a work. And again, I'm not saying that is fact because I don't know that is fact. This is just me speculating from my own perspective here. All right, next up. Dune fan, right, speaking of Dune. Hey, John, I followed the Dune press closely, and it was not a surprise that the second part would happen. Denis Villeneuve said in August in the French-Canadian outlet Le Presse that part 2 could shoot next fall, so he was ready, but they had to wait for the official word. Again, I don't think there was ever waiting for the official word. I think it was always going to be the case. All right, Anonymous Viewer writes, one common complaint of Eternals, from what I've heard, is that it's trying too hard to be a DC film like Zack Snyder's Justice League. Thoughts? No, that's complete bullshit. And by the way, it's only a couple. That is mostly being said by people who haven't seen the movie. And while that might have been mentioned by one or two critics who have seen it, it's just being parroted. So no, I disagree with that completely. It's not like an MCU movie, that's for sure. But at no point did I ever feel that it was trying to be a DC movie. I never felt that at all. All right, next up. Another anonymous viewer writes, I wonder what Ryan Johnson thinks about Eternals. Who knows? Willow writes, have you ever gotten a chance to meet or interview Robert De Niro again after the last Vegas incident? If so, did you shake his hand? Back to the Robert De Niro handshake gate. You know what? No, I have not met Robert De Niro since then, but that's really one of the last movies I really would have had a chance to do. Because remember, Last Vegas was also like one of the last movies that I ever went and did press for. Because you remember, I stopped doing these press things. Like, I made the odd exception here and there, but I just found doing the press events was a complete waste of my time because nobody watched the interview videos anyway. Like, we literally I had an interview with Robert Downey Jr. talking about the MCU and him playing Tony Stark, right? I had this sit down, me, Robert Downey Jr., sit down interview, blah, 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 got like 3,000 views. Whereas this little 5-minute editorial video we did on like how to butter your popcorn got like 50,000 views. The long and the short of it is, I just started to realize that the amount of man hours that went into doing these press events, I'd had to drive an hour across town to go to the special press screening, then drive an hour back home, then drive an hour to go to the Beverly Hills Four Seasons where most of these press events happen, spend 3 or 4 or 5 hours there to sit down for a couple of minutes individually with each of the stars of the film to make videos that I have to then bring back, give to an editor that they had to spend a few hours on, all in the name of making videos that were getting a couple of thousand views. I mean, every once in a while there would be one that, like with me, Chris Evans and Chris Hemsworth together. You remember that one was the best one I ever did. That one sure got like 100,000 views. Okay, but that was super, super rare. It just wasn't worth the energy or effort. So I have not had a chance to meet Robert De Niro since that Las Vegas event, but that's because I really don't do these press things anymore. I stopped doing them when I was still at Collider. So yeah, there's that. All right, next up. Good question, Willow. Payne141 writes, we just got a couple of minutes left here, guys. Payne141 writes, what would be more expensive in regards to Ms. Marvel? Translucent energy limbs or her growing and expanding human skin? Translucence is actually one of the easiest. That's really a compositing thing. There's not even a lot of visual effects work that needs to go into that. That's a compositing thing and just setting transparencies. So that's not too terribly big. Actual matter manipulation and stuff like that, that would be far more time intensive, difficult, and therefore more expensive to do as a visual effect. All right, next up. Let's see. Where are we at? I lost my spot here. Scott Brown writes, This seems to be in every trailer right now, and it's annoying. It starts and shows the heroes, something blows up, the bass drops, and you hear a vroom. Then show lots of images, rapidly play some rap music that goes clap, clap, clap. Please, I need this trend to end. Listen, there's a YouTube video out. That is like this like template for the modern trailer. And it is so good because it's so true. But you know what? Here's the thing. Trailers are marketing. And marketing, they need to make things that work. And if they find something that works, if they find a style that right now works, they're all going to do it, because the whole idea of making a trailer is to get as much attention as possible and get people interested in coming to see their movie. That's the whole point of a trailer. That is the exclusive reason a trailer exists. And what works with the audience will change over time. Right now, that formula works with audiences. It won't always, but they're going to stay that way until audiences start looking for other things in trailers. So don't look for the trailer industry to change. Look for the audience to start trailing and what's effective for them. And it will. And it just takes a little time. That's all. All right. Next up, we've got, was that Scott Brown? Yes, it was. Preston the Kryptonian writes, "Hey, John. So I saw Dune last weekend, and despite most everyone else's opinion, I didn't like or really understand the movie. I listened to part of the audiobooks a few years ago, but I wasn't quite following it either. I bought the book and never read it. So I am thinking about giving this story one more go and just sit down, read the book thoroughly, and even take notes and digest it. What do you think, John? Have you ever read the books? Maybe this story just isn't for me. Thanks, and bring on the filthy." Well, listen, there is no doubt that this is one of the heavier bits of sci-fi that you can read, for sure. I love your idea of just sitting down with the book and taking notes, but there was, I believe in 2000 or 2001, a mini-series version of Dune that was made that stars the MCU's Thunderbolt Ross himself. As Leo Atreides. Anyway, that miniseries isn't half bad. I mean, it's a little bit funny watching it today because the miniseries is over 20 years old, and it was clearly made with a television budget, clearly, like not a feature film budget, but it is probably the most easy to follow of, the Dune iterations. And I think if you're able to go back and find that Dune miniseries and give that a watch, I think you'll find that feels a little bit more clear. I think you'll find that comes across as a little more clear. So it's because they simplify it a bit. So maybe give that a shot. But listen, at the end of the day, this Dune is a movie. And movies are subjective. That means not every movie you watch is going to be for you. And even if a lot of people love it, that doesn't mean you have to. There's a lot of movies other people love that don't work for me. That's true of all of us. Just because it doesn't work for you doesn't mean you have to make it work for you. So, hey, if you watch Dune and it didn't work for you, then it didn't work for you. Move on to the next movie. That's my thing at anyway. But if you want to give it a try the miniseries. You might find that it makes it a little bit clearer. Okay, next up. We've got Yusuf Alvi, who writes, "1 of 4. Hey, John, I love you and your show. Thank you so much. I've been thinking a lot about the Alec Baldwin situation, and here's my 2 cents. First and foremost, I can't imagine the pain he and the victims must be feeling. I hope one day they find their peace. In today's day, you violate so many gun safety rules having one on set. It's better just to use toy and effects. Completely agree. However, I don't care if someone yells cold gun. If you have a weapon in your hands, it's your responsibility to check it. If you don't know how, you need to learn, no questions. I always assume that mine are loaded, even when I know mine, when they aren't. Yeah, but you're not on a movie set. Anyway, I have friends who were in the military who always check their and mine before doing anything. Yes, but again, you're not on a movie set because it's asinine to just assume it's safe. I don't care if it's someone else's job or if you're told otherwise. All weapons must be treated with respect, and if your studio can't afford to have the right safety measures in place to make a film, they shouldn't be making that film. All right. I appreciate you sharing that perspective, Yusuf. I do. And you're not alone. I think a lot of people have a perspective. But here's the thing. Do you walk around your car every time you get into your car and do a safety check on your car? I'm going to bet you don't. And I mean, the amount of people killed in auto incidents in the U.S. alone every year is staggering. But do you do a complete 20-point safety check on your car before you get behind the wheel, even though getting behind the wheel of your car is one of the most dangerous things? I mean, you can kill a lot of people behind the wheel of your car. Do you personally do a 20-point safety check of your car every time you get in the car to drive to 7-Eleven? Probably not. The vast majority of the people in this world, most people watching this show would have no idea how to safety check a gun. When you get into a dentist chair, like I just did last week, when you get into a dentist chair, do you inspect those sharp instruments that the dentists are going to be using in your mouth? Those drills, do you inspect them for safety? No, you don't. Why? Because there's somebody else there who is an expert in it who is telling you that they're safe. Who is telling you that they're safe. You don't take your own word for it in something as important as this. You trust an expert. You trust the people who are supposed to know. And I get it. We live in a society that loves pointing fingers. We do. We love it. But I agree with the woman who was killed, her husband, when she said this wasn't Alec Baldwin's fault. Were there things that could have been done differently? Yes. But we all shine a light on things that should have been done differently when something bad happens. And we ignore the fact that that's just how it's done most of the time. I'm not saying that's the case with Rust. But the reality is, to me, when an actor who has no business knowing how a gun works or knowing how to operate a gun or knowing how to inspect a gun, when an actor is on the set of a movie and they are told that there are supposed to be procedures that happen to make sure that that gun is safe. First, and again, no real gun should ever be on the set of a movie. I've been saying that for years. But when then the assistant director comes on set and yells out on set and calls out on set, cold gun, you as an actor need to be able to rely on that. And you wouldn't know I laugh at these people saying they should have inspected the gun. You wouldn't fucking know how to inspect a gun if your fucking life depended on it. You wouldn't know shit. And I just feel bad. Look, and everybody knows, other than The Shadow, which I love The Shadow, everybody knows that aside from The Shadow, I am not exactly the world's biggest Alec Baldwin fan. Everybody knows that. But I cannot help but feel for Alec. When they come on set and they proclaim to you, and you should be able to rely on that this is a safe prop because they called out cold gun, that means you're about to receive, there is a safe prop coming on set now. Somebody dropped the ball. I do not put the responsibility for this on Alec Baldwin, though. I do not put the responsibility. Now, we may find out after the investigation that there are other factors involved that maybe does implicate Alec Baldwin. That's different, and we'll find that out when the police report comes out, which we still don't have. But for now, to me, I feel sympathetic for an actor on a set when they need to be able to rely on the information and yelling, cold gun, that they should be able to rely that is now a safe prop that they're dealing with. That's a safe prop. It was yelled out, cold gun. Do you think that every time they set off those little charges on a set to replicate guns ricocheting off? Because remember, they set off these little charges to make like little explosions happen or little gun, like to make it look like gun just hit that door so they have these little sparks go off. Do you think an actor on set with dangerous explosives, do you think the actor goes and inspects the explosives? I'm an expert in munitions, so I know. No, they don't. They rely on other people to let them know that it's safe. The actor needs to be able to rely on other people being able to tell them that this is safe. Their job is to act. The actor's job is to act. It's not the actor's job. In my opinion, it is not the actor's job to be an explosive expert or to be a munitions expert, or to know how to properly inspect a firearm, like 99% of the people watching the show would have no idea how to do. Their job is to act. And by the way, even if an actor inspected the gun, I wouldn't trust them to actually know if it was safe or not. They need to be able to rely on other people to tell them, hey, this thing on a set, this is how this works and you're good. It's just the way I see it. Not everybody will agree with me, and that's fine. But again, we say all of this in a vacuum. We say all this in a vacuum that we don't know what the police report is going to say. And I know everybody wants to start pointing fingers, but everybody just needs to take a breath, wait till the police report comes out, and then we'll actually have some real solid information. And then we'll be able to maybe start forming some thoughts about how did this tragedy happen. And maybe we find out it was all Alec Baldwin. Maybe we find out it had nothing to do with Alec Baldwin. Maybe we find out it was all the assistant director. Maybe we find out it wasn't the assistant director. Maybe we find out it was this or that or the other thing. But right now, everybody just wanting to jump on a bandwagon and point fingers when we really don't even have the information yet. Let's just take a breath, keep our focus on what this is really about, which is a real tragedy and the loss of life and the fact that a husband lost his wife, a kid lost their mother, some parents lost their daughter, and friends lost a loved one. And let's save the rest until we actually have some real information. That's kind of my take on it anyway, Yusuf. But listen, dude, seriously, you're not alone in that opinion, and I appreciate you expressing I disagree with it, but I really appreciate that you shared your opinion, showing a different point of view than mine. So I appreciate that very much. All right. All right, I said that would be the last. Let's make this the last one. We'll make this the last one that we'll do today. This one comes to us from Film Fan Rant, who writes, John, here's a concept for you pertaining to people that want Arthur Fleck in the same universe as Robert Pattinson. And of course, this is the Joaquin Phoenix Joker and Robert Pattinson's Batman. Joker is a moniker. Arthur is in Gotham Asylum, Hannibal. Batman works with Arthur to capture this new Joker who killed his parents. I don't like it. Well, I mean, first of all, number one, I don't think that sounds very interesting. Number two, I don't think that's something that would ever happen because I just don't see Joaquin Phoenix ever signing off on something like that. The whole idea about Joker is it's truly standalone and unique. It was not meant to be a part of a franchise. And while they might make a second movie just because Joaquin thinks there's interesting things you can do with this guy, I don't think Joaquin signs off and now let's cross it over with Batman and now let's have this franchise. I don't see Joaquin Phoenix agreeing to that. I don't see the director agreeing to it either. I think Joaquin Phoenix Joker is truly alone. It's its own thing. And I don't even know that we'll ever get a sequel. I personally think we will. But I don't know that we ever will. Anyway, guys, listen, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here. Listen, guys, there are still more questions to go from Jessica, Anonymous, James Yu, and others. Do not worry, guys. We are going to be doing a companion video a little bit later tonight, and we will get all caught up on these questions there. So make sure you come back and check for that companion video later. Big thank you to all you guys for making this show part of your day. We appreciate that very much. And a special thank you to all you guys who sent in super chat badges in the live chat and sent in the tip questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, because you supported this channel as you did it. And all of us involved here at the John Campea Show, thank you guys so very much for your support. All right, guys, that'll do it for me. Thanks a lot for being here today. My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.